here we are on the Women's Power Hour show, and joining me today is the very lovely Stamena Milusheva, who is the founder of Refillable in Bath, which is a family-run, female-led shop that opened during the pandemic and is going from strength to strength. Stamena, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure, such an honor to be here. Really appreciate this opening.
Fantastic. Well, so excited to have you share your journey and story with the listeners. I mean, there was some amazing highlights that we'll get to. We're not going to start with those, though. I guess what would be really good for the listeners is for them to just find out a little bit more about who are you, who is Stamena, and how did you come to start this shop in Bath?
Okay, well,
take your time.
Take my time. Who is Stamena? Yeah. Amongst the many roles that I play in life, some of the very important roles to me are being a wellness coach, being a yoga teacher, and now being the main refiller at Refillable. Woohoo! So it's been an interesting journey. It's been, every single step of our lives, we are prepared towards something that's coming later in life. And how Refillable came about, it's such an interesting story. One day I was coming back from the yoga studio, and it was the last few days before the first lockdown. It was quite a questioning time. What will happen? Where are we going with all this? And I passed our little greengrocer in our little town. I looked at it and it was for sale. And we've known this lady being there for many, many years. Suddenly she decided as the lockdown was starting, she decided she had enough. This is it. She's closing down. I passed it second time, I passed it third time, and eventually a little bubble of a thought started surfacing up, and it started nagging at me. And I started thinking, okay, hang on a minute, I can take this over and I can bring my nutritional background and I can bring my yoga background and I can actually start promoting the healthy lifestyle in a positive way without telling people, but just offering the juices and the nuts and the seeds. Long story short, this didn't happen. Just as we hit the pandemics and the bank said, no, we are not financing your startup. It's not going to happen. Long story short, as I said, I went through the whole process. Should I, shouldn't I? What should I do? And at that point, I involved my daughter, Leny,
Yes.
and I shared with her and I said, what do you think? I would like to do this. I think it's a very good addition to my yoga and nutrition business. She looked at me. She's usually very conservative. She's a young lady, but very much more conservative than me. She said, let's do it. Wow. We can do this. And the first strategy sessions that we did, I do have a background in marketing and in business strategy. The first few strategies that we did, we thought, hang on a minute, if we decide to go only with this limited scope that we had in mind initially,
yes,
if we have a second lockdown, we will be locked. We will be a new business that just has started and we will not be able to sustain ourselves. What can we do differently? We started looking around. We started investigating further. For many years, we've been shopping. We've got life also beyond UK. We came from South Africa, from Johannesburg. And we used to shop from gravity containers. We used to decant our beans and lentils and nuts and seeds for many years. And we thought, okay, what about we actually create a sustainable, fully pledged grocery store that will offer everything that you can offer, but remove all the packaging, remove all the containers, keep it clean, keep it natural, keep it as organic as possibly can be, keep it healthy. So cover both sides of care for the planet, care for yourself. And we were at the point where every time we returned from the mainstream supermarkets and we were absolutely ridden with guilt, looking at the big mountain of plastic. Most of them are non-recyclable. I had to extremities. I had few calls I made here and there to the supermarkets, and I said, "What are you doing about this? I'm actually stressing about this for you." but you're not giving us a solution. So when the little grocer came about, and we decided we're going to do this thing, and we're going to do it right bang smack in the middle of the lockdown. Why
Nice.
not? Let's make it exciting. Everything just happened. Everything just opened up when you're on the right path, and when you are meant to do what you're meant to do, and you get the courage to do it, everything opens up. So long story short, we arrived to our current shop. It was a big shop. It was in completely ruined condition. We started speaking to the landlord. He turned out to be incredibly supportive man, incredibly supportive. Initially, he agreed for us to take half the shop. And when we told him what we were planning to do, he said, no, 6 months down the line, you are going to outgrow yourself. Rather take the entire shop. I'm prepared to give you a special concession on your rent, but you are going to grow.
Yes.
When this man gave us such a faith, such a trust and vote of confidence, it was like giving someone wings.
Yes.
And then that's it.
Wow.
8 months, 7 months down the line, we are expanding and we're building new things, and we are opening new venues and opportunities. And it's very, very exciting. It's a labor of love.
Brilliant. I absolutely love that. And there's so much more to that story, which we are going to come back to after this break. But I just wanted to say, you're so right. When you're on that path, things begin to align. It's almost, conviction, intention, yes, and things just line up for you.
Yes.
And it's just like the perfect thing begins to unfold. So, I mean, you couldn't have written it. It just had to happen.
We just need to listen. Sometimes we just need to listen to the calling, to the inner voice, to our gut feel, to this little nagging. And very often we pacify it because of fear and because of various boundaries, but that's not the real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, let's have a little break, Stamena, and we will be right back to continue this conversation. Right, we are back in the studio with Stamena, and she has been sharing the journey to starting her shop Refillable, which is in Bath. I mean, what a storm of a story from beginning to end, but just the universe lining everything up for it to happen. And in a pandemic, which, for lots of people was just an awful time, and watching things, kind of go away from them, that to have been able to birth this place in that time, and 8 months on, be thriving, absolutely thriving. Now, I just want to share with the listeners that, you have been selected for the Bath Life 2021 Awards.
Oh my goodness.
Which is just like, oh my goodness. Now, I mean, that's a fantastic achievement at any time, but to have been able to do it in less than a year and in the midst of a pandemic kind of says an awful lot about the type of business, and I think also the need for this business.
Yes.
That people are looking and needing for better ways to live. And I guess my question is, how did it happen, and how do you feel? How do you feel about the success of this female-led, I want to throw in also, family business?
You nailed it just a few seconds ago when you said it's time, and people have been looking for this kind of shop. Since we opened the doors, we have seen nothing short than support, love, and encouragement from the community. It's been absolutely overwhelming. I can't believe it. So when the Bath Life email came, I quite honestly, I'll probably be revealing something that I shouldn't hear, but let me just go for it. I ignored the email. I thought it was another marketing spam.
Brilliant.
I ignored it, and I just kept going. And towards the evening, when sort of my day almost finished, I went back checking my emails, and I looked at it, and it says, "You are a finalist." So I thought, hang on a minute, what does that mean? Then I remember emailing Kath, our marketing lady, and I said, "What does it mean?" She said, "You're a finalist. You've been selected." And I kept reading further. And what they said in this email is they had a huge selection of businesses. And for those that have been selected, it's a really, really incredible honor, because it's been really a tough choice to choose who would be the finalists. And I felt this an amazing, amazing, uplifting feel, like a culmination of all the love and all the support and all the encouragement we've received from the community so far. Suddenly this comes as the biggest validation. So we're completely humbled. The girls in the shop are still kind of in disbelief. They don't realize what that means. But once we put the night gowns and the evening gowns and go out there, and we are determined to win it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, things will come to reality.
Absolutely. I mean, just absolutely fantastic. I mean, and I think it's such an uplifting story in a time where there have not been enough of them. It just fills people with hope. You know, brighter days are yet to come, and I really want to hold on to that thought and feeling. But of course, Refillable is much more than a shop that people go to pick up things that don't come in packaging. And I have the same frustration as you with plastic, by the way. Drives me insane. It's so much more than that. So do you want to just share with the listeners what else it is that Refillable do?
Yes, absolutely. During the pandemic, when everything was locked, and we being an essential shop, we remained open, thanks goodness, through the entire lockdown and all the lockdowns. And what we've noticed was a very interesting experience. Many times people came to the shop and they said things like what you mentioned now. "We are so inspired to see something positive happening. Thank you for that." They came to the shop and they said, "We're here because this is our only time out during the day. And when we come here, we feel good and we connect with other people and we can talk and see other people." At some point, we even introduced, we had a little lonely sofa that we made from pallets, and we put it next to the window, and we called it our Not Alone Corner. So
Nice.
Whoever felt alone and lonely at home, we invited them to come and just sit there. You don't need to socialize. You don't need to talk to anybody. Just sit and not be alone, just for a few minutes.
Nice.
So part of that experience, what happens, and I will be bringing my nerdy self forward here, I need to explain this. So part of this experience is when we connect with other people, our body begins to produce very important chemicals. And in this instance, it's the oxytocin. It's the bonding hormone. And when we produce this, we feel connected, we feel belonging, we feel loved, we feel appreciated. So that is a very, very important experience for us human beings. Then the next point from what people took out of Refillable, not just the groceries, but the fact that they contributed to a bigger cause, helping to clean our environment. That's a tiny little milestone. And in the brain, immediately the brain starts saying, "Okay, I'm happy with that. I'm going to produce dopamine." So that's our reward hormone. Then we talk about feeding the body with all the natural, healthy, organic, good foods, simple foods that help to produce, not just, they feed up the body with a lot of nutrients and right minerals, but also we start manufacturing serotonin, which is the elevator, the mood booster from the brain. So Refillable is a concept that is a care concept for the planet, but it's a self-care concept for the person that comes and experience all this in the shop. And I think this gives me enormous warm glow in my heart, quite honestly. But I don't know how else to explain it, but that that.
That's beautiful. And actually, as you were talking, I was thinking the very name Refillable, it's also about refilling self, replenishing.
Yes.
I immediately, as you were so, I think, oh my goodness, it's that you're buying these foods and obviously refilling, but you're refilling yourself. And I think that's just such a beautiful message around, in this time, especially I talk an awful lot about self-care and the importance of it. So actually to be able to find an environment that kind of ticks all of these boxes and
exactly
feeds into you on all these different levels is just an absolute blessing and a joy. So, you know, well done you and your wonderful team for making it happen and bringing joy to people clearly in a moment where they just didn't have an awful lot. Okay, Stamena, we're going to have another break and then we'll come back to you with a couple more questions.
Perfect.
Well, we are back with the lovely Stamena, who has been sharing this amazing journey for herself and her family and Refillable, the store in Bath. Now, I love the way that you tied that in. You were able to tie in everything that the store stands, the shop stands for around self-care. You know, self-care, other care, planet care. If I were to
that's beautiful. I love that. I love that.
It's like that multi-dimensional approach, I think, is brilliant. But it's so much more than that. You have the physical shop, I know.
Yes.
But there are other things happening. Do you want to share what else is going on?
Yes. We've got the physical store, physical shop on London Road, but we also have the online shop where people can click and collect, or they can click, drop and collect. They can drop their containers on the way to work, and they can come and collect them all filled up on the way back from work. We also deliver in the Bath area and certain villages around Bath. On top of that, we've put, can I mention the website address here?
Of course you can.
So the website is very simple. It's www.refillable.shop. You can't forget that. Refillable.shop.
Easy.
Easy. Same for our Instagram page. We've got a lot of activity there at refillable.shop. Our Facebook page is the same, at refillable.shop. But a part of that, we also have put a little cafe. And there I have an opportunity to exercise my creativity and my nutritional background.
Yes.
Creating a whole lot of cold pressed juices with nutritional thinking in every recipe, beautiful smoothies. We've introduced a new series of Meet the Producer, which is once a month we create a demo and giving opportunity for our suppliers to present their products, to present their processes, to teach us something interesting and something new. And we also have a little pleasant social evening out every once a month, Saturday from 5 o'clock. Now this month we're doing the Mediterranean demo. Since we can't go to the Greece islands,
we'll bring Greece here.
We'll bring Greece here. That's it. So we are doing a little Greece demo, and we'll have some testers, and we'll have some good time. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to introduce our suppliers to our customers and just build relationships, build connections on that level as well.
Wonderful.
So we're trying to take the traditional shopping experience into more connected community kind of experience, where you're not just buying your groceries, but you also, amongst other people, you're part of a bigger cause, you're part of a community, and you get this joy out of this whole experience.
Yeah. Oh, I'm loving that. I mean, I think the word community always brings joy to me, because I think I can remember growing up. I'm London born, and at that time, it was a very long time ago, community was strong, you know, it was such an important thing, and people looked out for each other.
Oh gosh, yes.
I think whenever I hear it now, I think that's what I picture in my head, is that you're just creating this space and this kind of loveliness where people can go, and not just for their own benefit, but for the benefit of many. And that's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great stuff. Okay, Stamena, stay with me, because when we come back, I want to ask you about self-care and your top tip. And there was something that you shared with me specifically that I'd like you to share with the listeners. We'll be right back after this. with the lovely Stamena, who has been sharing the whole refillable story, which has been incredible. I mean, I'm sitting here also thinking, gosh, after 8 months, all of this that's happened, it's no wonder that you're beaming, because you should be. I'm beaming for you. It's amazing. It really is. Now, you and I had the opportunity to speak before we had this conversation, and I was asking you about self-care, and specifically women, and how women can, take better care of themselves, because we have so many life roles, and I think the natural nurturing spirit of that means that we are quite often just putting it all out there. It goes into everything.
Very true. Very true.
Which means that we are quite often running on empty, or pretty close to it.
Absolutely.
But you shared a really lovely analogy with me that involved Levi jeans. That I would love for you to share, because when you said it, I was like, yeah, that's exactly, I think, because I think it represents how lots of women feel. So I'm going to leave that with you to share.
Okay, all right. So yes, it's difficult for me to give advice because everybody's life story is very unique, but I will share how I feel sometimes, and hopefully this ignites some kind of spark in others. So sometimes I think of myself as, do you remember in the olden ages? Okay, well, we're not going to say how olden ages, we're just going to mention a few years back when Levi's had this badge of 2 horses and pair of jeans in the middle, and the 2 horses were pulling the pair of jeans apart in opposite directions. And it was representation of the strength of the pair of jeans. So often in life, I feel like that pair of jeans between the 2 horses. The one horse is pulling me in one direction, demanding all my time with both my businesses, the yoga business and the refillable business, which is a startup, which is really high demand on time. And it's a lot of stress, and it's a lot of deadlines, and it's a lot of rushing and running. So one horse is pulling in this direction, and it's just saying, I need you here, and I need your full attention right now. The other horse is pulling in the other direction, and it says, you need to take a break, you need to look at the sea, you need to read a book, you need to rest. And the first horse says, hang on a minute, we've got things to do. There is no time for the sea and for the book and for the rest. So I'm that pair of jeans in the middle. Now, let's park the pair of jeans here for a second. I'll circle back to that, but I'm going to tie it with another interesting story for you that I tell usually my students in class, and I've got a lot of women in class, which are exactly as you described. We run very often on empty. We give, and we sometimes forget to refill the tank. So there's this, there's this microbiologist called Dr. Bruce Lipton. He's a speaker, he's got a lot of books, podcasts, and he did an experiment many years ago where he took a pair of cells and he started cloning those cells. So those are identical pair of cells that are being cloned, and he's cloned them to million and gazillion other cells, which are all identical. So there's no difference in those cells. He divided the new cloned cells into 3 groups, and he used 3 different petri dishes, and he put different culture in each petri dish. He planted the cells, the 3 groups of cells, into 3 different petri dishes, and he started growing a new structure. So one petri dish was supposed to grow bone marrow. The other petri dish was supposed to grow muscle cell. The other petri dish was supposed to grow, for argument's sake, connective tissue, whatever the case. So those are identical cells. The only difference is the different cultures in the petri dishes. Now, our bodies are like those petri dishes. Whatever culture we create inside is what cell is going to grow. If we create a negative culture, if we're driven by fear and stress and anxiety, and we belittle ourselves all the time and we talk small to ourselves all the time, the culture, the hormones, the chemicals that we're going to create in our body will start damaging the cells, will start growing illnesses, will start growing cancers, whatever else. However, if our thoughts are affirmative and positive, and we choose to spin this and create a positive culture, our immune system strengthens. We start producing chemicals that facilitate positive growth in the body. Now, coming back to my analogy of the pair of jeans, when I find myself that my stressful horse is pulling too strong forward and I don't have the time to stop, I usually think of my stress as my propeller, as my motivator.
Yes.
And it's exciting and it's positive and I'm doing various things, and yes, I don't have the time, and yes, I can't stop right now, but I know I'm going to stop and I know I'm going to come back to that balance. And I accept that at the moment I'm simply unable to allocate time to reading my book, but I know that I'm going to return to that because it's important to me. So stopping for a few minutes, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, it is very important to gain that perspective and to gain that grounding and balancing and stability again.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something interesting, if I can throw this at you.
Of course.
You wanted to do a little challenge, didn't you? Oh, I think this will be so interesting.
Oh, well, this was the 10-minute silence. Yeah?
Oh,
or
my
stillness.
Stillness.
Challenge, right?
Yes.
10
yes.
minutes of stillness for 10 days. And because
Love
we
this.
both really agreed that this was such an important thing to do, because
Yes.
you know, it gives the body a bit of time to calm down, it gives the mind a bit of time to work some things out. If we are never still, if we are constantly in action, you know, sure on we will hit burnout. We will.
Absolutely.
Our physiology needs to have some time to readjust itself and get to some state of
yes.
And even
absolutely.
if it's 10 minutes, it
makes
a massive difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. I fully agree with you. So why don't we do that? Since this came alive here in this show, why don't we call it 10 days, Yvonne pause for 10 minutes a day? And then we can just exchange feedback and say, how was your Yvonne pause? Give us a feedback. What happened? What did you experience? Let's give ourselves permission to accept what it is and to let it be, and then commit to 10 minutes of doing nothing. Allow ourselves to do nothing. No music, no talking, no phone, no social media, no movement, just one big sweet fat nothing.
And the wonderful thing about that, because you mentioned it, is that when we give ourselves that permission to have 10 minutes, I mean, and 10 minutes is not a lot of time, but 10 minutes of stillness, it's amazing how over time we start to hear ourselves more. And I mean our inner self.
Absolutely.
The instinct, the gut instinct, the messages that otherwise we don't hear because we're just on full pelt.
Yeah.
So these are 10 golden minutes that you can have. We're encouraging you, we're inviting you even to take, so that you can actually start to reconnect with yourself. And I think that in and of itself is a fantastic self-care tip right there. And then if you are up for it, you can always let us know right into the studio, and I'll give you the email address at the end, and you can let us know how you got on. And I will share that with Stamena.
I will definitely do your challenge. I will do your challenge and I will tell you what happens in the end. I love this. Love it.
Excellent. Okay. We are going to have one more break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to wrap up this amazing conversation. We are back. And Stamena, oh my goodness, it's been such a thrill to speak with you. And I'm thrilled about your journey. I'm thrilled about the award. And I love that you totally get self-care. You totally understand. I mean, you and I are on the same page with that, which is a beautiful thing. And of course, now we want our listeners to go and experience this amazing thing that you have created. So can you just tell them just the website address again and anything else that they need to know about contacting you?
Perfect. Yes. So the physical shop is in Bath on London Road. Please do come and visit us. You will feel very welcomed. You will feel the love and the joy inside. We do have a cafe. We've got baked goods. We've got beautiful freshly squeezed cold pressed juices. We make smoothies with fresh produce. So you will really enjoy visiting our shop and visiting the cafe as well. We do have an online presence. Our online shop is www.refillable.shop. You can contact us via online. You can contact us via our Instagram page, which is @refillable.shop. We do have few little guidelines. If you're visiting for first time, you can bring your own containers, whatever containers you've got, and you can refill. We do have complimentary paper packs for the dry goods. We do sell jars and bottles if you don't have your own. Well-behaved children and dogs are more than welcome. In fact, we've got a fantastic chalk wall where very often our regular customers, when they bring their children, they specifically come for that attraction. So they leave the children at the chalk boat and they draw and they create beautiful art. Wonderful. While the parents are free to roam around and to shop and feel comfortable and feel safe and feel happy to be there. So we deliver locally here in Bath. With every order over £25, we deliver for free. We do click and collect. We do click, drop and collect. So there are many options to explore to reduce the guilt, not just the waste, but to reduce the guilt. And also you're welcome to come and chat to us and exchange ideas and tell us what else you would like us to find and source and stock in the store.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think it, whilst I think online shopping is wonderful and great, it just sounds like the kind of shop you want to go to because you want to have the experience, right?
Oh yes, oh yes.
I would definitely want to come, but I would probably want to take over the children's chalkboard, which is arguments. But hey, we'll deal with that.
We can accommodate you. Don't worry. There's a tall place where you can write.
Brilliant. Oh my goodness, Stamena, thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a true joy, an absolute blessing, and I feel so uplifted by this story. It's just a wonderful thing that's happening. So thank you so much for what you have created.
Oh, thank you for having me here. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. You've got such a great positive energy, and it rubs off me. It's beautiful.
I think it's a two-way thing going on.
Yeah,
here.
it is definitely. We've got a thing.
We've got a thing.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Stamena. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks to the listeners.